Hello and welcome back to the Keye Team Sommelier Corner. As usual, I'm David, your certified som and realtor here in Park City. Here to share a great value wine with you. Very excited to tell you about this wine. It is from Lirac. It is Château de Ségriès, and it is their Cuvée Réserve Rouge, so they're red. And is a great value. I love Châteauneuf-du-Pape wines, very savory style wines, and this one is right next to Châteauneuf-du-Pape. And so it has a lot of similarities, not quite, of Châteauneuf yet, but it is still a very delicious wine if you're working on a budget. All in, it was under $30 even with taxes. So, telling you a little bit more about the area, and then I'll sip on this wine. We'll talk about it a little bit more. The Château de Ségriès has been around since around the 17th century, the actual chateau itself. Currently, since the 1990s, has been managed by the Domard family. They also have a chateau over in Châteauneuf-du-Pape, which I think is a great thing because that means they can bring that stylistic nature over to their Lirac wines. One thing that's really great about Lirac is it's benefits from all the same things that you do if you were across the way at the Châteauneuf-du-Pape. You've got that north mistral wind coming in, keeping the grapes dry, making sure they're not molding. You also get all of the same sun and a very similar soil. You have your Galets there, which are, essentially they're river rocks, and so they're big round stones mixed in with the clay all throughout the vineyard. So what's really cool about that is the stones will heat up from the sun during the day, just like the vines, but then overnight, as the vines are cooling off, you actually have the stones that have retained that heat, imparting that to your vines. So it creates nice even ripening throughout. You have a nice blend of three, it's a GSM, your three grapes. Grenache is the majority with Syrah and Mourvèdre. Grenache, very bright red fruit driven. Syrah has some black fruit, some black pepper, little savory notes, and then your Mourvèdre is definitely your backbone. It's what delivers the structure. It gives it a lot more savory notes and pepper, and is a very important mixing grape in the Rhône Valley. So that's just the cliff notes. You can read the article to learn more. I want to dive into tasting this wine as I have yet to have my first sip. So we are back to the advanced master sommelier sheet grid, and I'm going to go through that. I'm looking at it here in front of me. I'll try and look up and down so that it's not too bad, but you start with sight, you go to nose, then you go through the palate structure and the palate, and then you make a conclusion usually, but I know what this wine is. It is a GSM. It's a Grenache Syrah blend out of the Rhône. So, the sight, it is a clear red wine. The intensity of the color, it is a medium plus. It's got nice brightness with maybe even a little bit of a it's a ruby core with a garnet rim there. Just a little rim variation. The staining is not too heavy on this, or the tearing either, and no evidence of gas. For the nose, beautiful nose. It's got a good aromatic intensity. I'd go with a medium, maybe medium plus on the aromatic intensity. Age assessment, it's definitely youthful. You can tell just because the fruit comes through pretty quickly and pretty bright. I'm not getting any oxidative notes. I'm not getting any dried fruits. Speaking of fruit condition, definitely ripe. Maybe just a little bit of baked, which could add up with the climate. So mostly ripe fruit though. Like I'm getting bright strawberries. I'm getting ripe blackberries. And then it kind of drifts into the savory notes. I get some rosemary and thyme, some cloves, a touch of black pepper. What else am I getting? A little Bing cherry, really, a little like bright red cherry on this. Earth, not getting a ton of earth or composting. I think I might revisit that on the palate. I do think that the river rocks, the Galets, are going to influence the palate more. You get more minerality on this type of wine on your palate. On the nose, by the way, there is no oak present because they actually ferment the wine in concrete vats, which makes it to where it doesn't get all the flavors of the oak from fermentation, and then they age it in neutral oak barrels. So we'll get a touch of oak, but it doesn't taste like wood. You don't get all those oak qualities because they're using the neutral, which has already been used several times, so you just get touches of it instead of the whole oak experience with vanilla and spice. So, palate structure, now I finally get to take that sip. That's delicious. A little more gripping than I thought too. Sweetness as a dry wine. Acidity, medium. It's got a little acid on it. It's making me salivate, but I think part of that's the tannin. The body is like a medium plus. Alcohol is medium plus as well. And your tannins are nice and grippy, but kind of on the sides of your cheek, not too much on the front like a Cabernet can oftentimes gets it here. But it is making me salivate, so it's got a little bit of acid, but that tannin is definitely a moderate plus. Probably a lot of that's coming from the Syrah and Mourvèdre, but really enjoyable tannin on that. So for the fruit, on the palate is still really nice ripe fruit. You get a little bit of dried character as well. For the fruit condition, still mostly red fruit driven. I definitely got more cherry on the palate, black and red cherry, as well as a little bit of that strawberry I was talking about. Not as much of the brambly ones like raspberry and blackberry on the palate. The earth is still not really a lot of earth, but there is great mineral, as I expected. On the tongue, like the river rocks, you definitely feel a mineral quality on the tongue, which I think is really cool that can be imparted to a wine. Oak is minimal. I really am not getting oak spice of any kind. I'm mostly just getting, and honestly, some of that mineral on the palate could also be from using the concrete for the fermentation as well. Overall, it's a nice balanced wine. You got fruit, you got savory notes. Some of the non-fruits I'm getting on the palate definitely include a meatiness, like a smoked meat, maybe duck. Speaking of meatiness, this obviously is a great food wine because it's got a good mix of fruit and non-fruit characters. So you could pair this up with a nice roasted lamb shank, which I love with most Syrahs anyway. Duck, as I was just kind of talking about, it would be fantastic because this is not so big that it can't pair with a leaner meat like duck. What else? If I was going for a certain meat like appetizer, it would be, I would probably go like calabrese, something with a little spice, personally on this. And otherwise, it's definitely a great wine, very food friendly. Not too big on the palate, so it's not going to overpower any dishes you have. I don't know that I'd pair this with many fishes, but pork and beef and lamb all come to mind on this. Yeah, I think that's it. If you want to know about what I paired it with, you got to read the article. I'll give you a hint, it's not your traditional house. So have yourselves a great day. Enjoy February, what's left of it. Enjoy the snow that we just got, and we'll talk to you soon.